Hi guys, my name is Jackson, and I'm happy to be here to share with you some of my findings in my project. First of all, my project studies the question, when and why do policy gradient method outperform value-based methods in reinforcement learning? Specifically, in this project, I focus on comparing DQN, deep Q learning, and the PPO, proximal policy optimization, using key papers. Instead of only discussing the theory, this project also emphasized the empirical performances across different environments. First, let's define two environments here. The first environment is discrete action environment, like video games, like Atari games. So here actions are limited, and DQN was specifically designed for this setting. The second environment is continuous control environment, like Mojako. So actions are continuous, like torques, movements, like robotics or something. And PPO is commonly used here. So the main idea here is compare performances across different environment structures. Let's look at the empirical result. So at the first case, in discrete environment at Atari game, DQN achieved strong result across 49 Atari games. It outperformed previous method on 43 games. In some games, DQN significantly outperforms BBQ, BBO. For example, at breakout game, DQN scored 1.5 times higher score than PPO. At Space Invader, DQN scores 2 times higher than a PPO, and at Sequence 4 times higher. Therefore, it can imply that DQN benefits from experiencing replay. This is a strategy that is covered in the report, and it's a smart technique that kind of like facilitates the learning from DQN. Also, because of this experience in replay, it reuses the past data and therefore having high sample efficiency. And this works very well when action space is small and discrete. Let's look at the second case, continuous environment, continuous control. In contrast, on this environment, PBO outperforms many methods, including value-based ones. DQN struggle because it requires uh because because the formula it utilizes is harder when actions are continuous. So it can be summarized that the PPO directly outputs actions, much more natural for a continuous setting, also provides stable updates via clipping. Clipping is a clever technique using PPO. It's kind of a ratio that limits the updating for each step. So therefore, for this project, I think there are several setbacks. First of all, I think that one of the most setback the first setback is at most paper there's a lack of direct comparison, and therefore like PPO papers does not like directly compare against DQN. So therefore, you need to manually compare those results across papers. Also, I think another kind of like setback is I'm still undergrad sophomore, so for me it's pretty hard to kind of like to read those bunch of papers and to write a comparative analysis. But eventually I make it through, and it took me a lot of time, but I think it was a precious experience to kind of have this project. Yeah. So to summary, um, based on the empirical evidence, the conclusion is there is no universally better method. Instead, PPO is better for continuous, stable control task. DQN is better for discrete, data efficient environments. And there are more differences, and those differences are further discovered in the paper. Thank you for watching.